To adequately prepare any speech, it's critical to the process to understand your audience. And we, as a class, despite a variety of locations and backgrounds, have quite a bit in common with each other, which may be used to reach out to each other and relate to our class as a whole in future speeches. Our class, including our instructor, is composed of 15 very different people from a wide variety of environments and backgrounds. I'd like to take a few moments of your time today to point out some of the differences as well as some of the commonalities inherent in our class this semester, based on information provided by you to the first or the initial discussion board question posed by our instructor. Once having done this, I will also point out some of the characteristics that we share and which may be used to relate future topics to the class as a whole for the remainder of the semester. Let us start by examining a few of our differences. For example, the largest single point of origin for the majority of the class is Texas. A third of us were born or grew up there. The rest of us come from across the country and even outside of its borders. Currently, a third of us are taking this class, being stationed overseas, or as in the case of a few of our classmates, forward locations in Iraq. In addition to where we've come from and where we are, our class is also quite varied in terms of where we're headed. 20% of us are pursuing degrees in the criminal justice career field, 20% studying for degrees in the sports, health sciences field, and another 13% of us pursuing bachelor's degrees in the field of business management. Just to name a few of the most popular career fields that you responded. Moving on to similarities between us, I'd like to point out that although where we have come from and where we may be headed right now are very different, where we are right now in our lives may be strikingly familiar to many of you. For example, 93% of the class is now or has worked in some capacity for the federal government. Nearly a third of the class fall into the federal service category, with 33% currently serving on active duty with the United States Army. Over half the class, 53%, currently serve or have served in some capacity with the United States Air Force, while an additional 7% of the class are currently on active duty with the U.S. Navy. Despite the variety in service choices, however, 40% of the class currently are working or have worked in the law enforcement career field. While the majority of the class, 87% of us, are males, over half the class is married. 60% of us are parents. And of that 60%, 67% of you are working, taking this class, and trying to raise at least 2 children. Having listed for you some of our differences and similarities, I'd like to take just a moment to point out a few of what I'd like to refer to as common denominators that I see in our class. And some of these are not things that can be expressed in statistics, but that are evident nonetheless in the decisions that we've made and the choices that we've made in our lives. Bear in mind that reading between the lines as I have done sometimes can provide you, the speaker, with some of the best insight into your audiences, and hence some of the most interesting ways to relate your topics to your audience. Nearly every member of our class has demonstrated, through years of commitment and service, our desire to serve our country and its people. Most, if not all, of us share the experiences of having lived abroad and can clearly enumerate the cultural differences between the United States and the other countries in the world. A majority of the class has quite literally risked their lives and dealt with extreme circumstances and harsh conditions, both abroad and inside the borders of the United States, so that others in our society could enjoy the blanket of security provided by your chosen profession. In these 3 areas alone, we are quite literally a band of brothers, sisters, citizens all. So what's the bottom line? What's my point today? It's simple yet important, both in terms of this semester and to us as classmates, as well as for our collective futures. This short look at our class's differences and similarities should enable each of us to tailor our speeches to better match our audience's needs and interests. For despite all of our differences between us in terms of personal beliefs and backgrounds, we all share a common desire to do our best for now and for future generations, for our children and for our grandchildren. We've all demonstrated this by seeking higher levels of education and a willingness to serve and a willingness to share our knowledge with others who have also embarked on this quest. My name is Kurt Priest, and I thank you for your time.